Here are my rankings that nobody asked for of how many production hold seats are going to go out in each of the Eras Tour cities in order of the most to the least. The real key in determining the size of the production hold release is basically what sections have they not sold that could potentially go on sale. In Miami, we saw they opened up a whole bunch of sections that were somewhat behind the stage, but they were selling them at, like I've heard, $45 to $67 a ticket. Very cheap. Obviously not a great view, but if you can get your hands on a $45 or $70 Taylor Swift ticket just to get in the building, get the experience, you know people are going to do that. So, let's take a look at our next big day coming up, which is New Orleans. New Orleans, much like Miami, has quite a few sections that I would say are equivalent to the ones that they ended up selling in Miami. So I'm kind of expecting a relatively decent-sized production hold sale. I think they'll end up selling a couple more of these sections in the upper deck that are somewhat behind the stage, maybe in the middle deck, even lower bowl. I could see like this section even being sold because it's about equivalent to what they were selling in Miami. However, the news for Indianapolis is not so good. There are not that many sections left they could possibly sell. Because of the way the stadium is built, the only thing they really aren't selling are the seats that are directly behind the stage. Everything else they've pretty much already sold because they've got the stage tucked all the way back in one of the end zones here. And you can see either side. They're basically selling everything they've already can. So in this kind of stadium, there are going to be more production hold seats. They'll be along the edges of the field, occasional seats that might have been potentially blocked by like a sound tent or a light tower that they decide they can sell. But it's not going to be an entire bunch of sections opening up like we saw in Miami and like I'm expecting to see in New Orleans. Toronto is pretty much the same story as Indy. I talked about this in another video, but they're already selling backstage. There is not much left to sell. The difference in Toronto might be they can fit more seats in on the field because the size of the field, they might be able to add more seating in the field level that they weren't expecting. So here I expect there might be actually a decent number of field level ticket drops, maybe occasionally some in the stands, but they're already selling all the sections they possibly can. And finally, Vancouver. Vancouver actually looks like maybe they can get away with selling another section or two if they want to once they put up the stage and look at the sight lines. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two more sections each on either side here do end up going up for sale. So if I had to rank them in terms of how many production hold tickets I think are going to be going out per city, I think Miami was going to be number 1. I think New Orleans is number 2. Vancouver is 3. And then coming in a distant 4th and 5th, unfortunately for me, are probably Indy and, of course, Toronto.